We're just 50 days out from this year's highly anticipated midterm elections. In Missouri, incumbent Democrat Senator Claire McCaskill is vying to keep her seat in the typically Republican-leaning state.
According to a new CBS News battleground tracker polling, voters have her in a dead heat with the state's Republican Attorney General Josh Hawley. For more on this race, we're joined by Jo Mannies in St. Louis. She's a political reporter for St. Louis Public Radio. So, Jo, Senator Claire McCaskill faced off against Josh Hawley Friday in their first debate. That's when things got a little testy. Take a listen.
We've got a big choice in this election between the heartland middle-class way of life and the radical left-wing agenda of the D.C. liberals.
I'm the only candidate in this race that has a proven track record of bipartisan accomplishments. If you want somebody who always agrees with their party, then Josh Hawley is your candidate. He has said he disagrees with nothing the president has done. Nothing.
All right, that was just one exchange. There were many others. You were at that debate. Walk us through what the next 50 days look like from here. Can we expect more of the same?
Yes. Basically what's happening is she is hammering the Attorney General for his involvement in a lawsuit that was filed by attorneys general in about 20 states that would get rid of the rest of the Affordable Care Act, and that includes its requirement that insurance companies cover people with pre-existing conditions. He's claiming that Congress can pass a law to continue those protections. She and some outside groups have been hammering him with TV ads on that. Meanwhile, his allies have been hammering her over her wealth, particularly her husband, who's a successful businessman and developer, over a number of low-income housing projects that he's done over the last 12 years that have gotten some federal subsidies. Now, the subsidies went to the projects, not to him, but Hawley and his allies have been claiming that she and her husband got rich on that. Those are really the two biggest arguments that the two sides are hammering on right now. There's other stuff. He's been pushing Kavanaugh. She's been promoting her support for a middle class tax cuts, not what was approved last year. But the key things really are coming down to pre-existing conditions and her wealth. That's really where it's boiling down to right now.
What we also heard from her, though, was sort of casting Josh Hawley as a staunch supporter of President Trump, blind support for him, won't stand up to him. What role will the president play in this race?
Well, I think it depends, frankly, on how he is in the polls. The latest polls in Missouri, there have been very few independent polls, show that his support is down, but it's still about 50-50. The president is more popular in Missouri than in some other states. So the result is that the conventional wisdom is in a tight race like this, if Trump is really popular, that could push Hawley over the finish line. If Trump's popularity continues to go down, that helps her. A key issue on this is the tariffs, which his tariffs have hurt the farming community in Missouri, especially farmers who grow soybeans, dramatically. And many of those farmers say that they had backed Trump before. They don't back him now. But whether or not that translates into an issue that could really have an impact in 50 days, we don't know yet.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. Jo, they also went at it over health care. I want to play a little bit of that.
Bill that he supports in Congress that the Republicans introduced. Wait till you hear this. To protect pre-existing conditions, it says you have to give people insurance, they have pre-existing conditions, but you don't have to cover the pre-existing condition.
I am for mandating that insurance companies cover people like my son with pre-existing conditions. Now, Senator McCaskill can say it 100 times or 10,000 times that I want to take that coverage away. It doesn't make it true.
All right, so you explain the economic realities as it relates to the tariffs in Missouri. How big of a concern is health care for those voters in Missouri?
Huge. Missouri is one of the states that did not expand Medicaid the last few years, like some states did. But the whole issue of pre-existing condition protections has been a big issue here, frankly, for almost a year. She was talking about this last fall. Now this has become an issue that a lot of Democrats in a lot of states are emphasizing because they see that many voters are concerned about that. That's why support for the Affordable Care Act has gone up. A key reason is the protections for pre-existing conditions. As I mentioned earlier, Hawley says he does support those protections, just not through the Affordable Care Act. She says that so far, Congress hasn't come up with a way to do that. So she's been running ads featuring a different person who's affected by pre-existing condition coverage almost daily. She's been running stuff online, as I said, in TV ads. Outside groups have come in. That's the biggest issue that they've been hammering him on, and they've been using that as a template to emphasize what they say is his biggest failing, that he is too close to Trump. Now, President Donald Trump is expected to come in the state within the next week or two. This will be at least his fourth visit on behalf of Hawley. Trump is going to a strong Republican part of the state in southwest Missouri. That's another key thing. Hawley has been spending most of his time campaigning in Republican strongholds, in part because they need to energize the Republican base. McCaskill has been spending more of her time traveling all over the state, urban and suburban areas, because the suburbs is where this is going to really be decided. But it's intriguing that he particularly is spending a lot of his time in Republican strongholds. I think they're concerned that the Republicans are not as energized as they need to be.
So one of the other reasons that this race is getting a lot of attention is because there's a whole lot of money being poured into it. The nonpartisan Center for Responsive Politics says this race has attracted at least $25 million so far. That's more outside money than any other Senate race in the country. Why is that? Can you break it down for us? And you know, where's this money going and where's it coming from?
Well, most of it's going for TV ads. I mean, to be blunt, and there's tons of them already. One of the reasons, a key reason, is obviously is that Missouri could determine which party controls the Senate in January. Right now, it's a Democratic-held seat, but Trump carried the state by almost 20 points. So Republicans see this as an opportunity. Democrats did really poorly in Missouri in 2016. McCaskill and one other statewide office holder are the only Democrats left holding statewide office in Missouri. So if either of those two women lose, it's really bad for the Democrats in the state. So there's a lot of state concerns for the Democrats, but also the national concerns, because they see this as possibly one of those contests that could very well decide which party controls Congress in January. The Democrats can't afford to lose it. The Republicans really want to grab it.
It's going to be an interesting race. Jo Mannies, thank you.
Well, thank you.